Zelensky is a reliable stooge for the West. He is going to sing that tune until he gets word from the CIA or MI6 or both to get on a plane and fly to London. And from there, they'll take him somewhere else along with some of his criminal compatriots, and they'll live the rest of their lives in the lap of luxury while Ukraine suffers in ruins and destruction for years. And, that's where he's headed. He knows that, this is not some sort of brave, courageous soul whose heart is with Ukraine. Remember, this man wasn't Ukrainian to begin with. He happened to have been born in Russia, and he spoke Russian. This is just tragic. It's a farce in the most negative sense of the word. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again today. We'll unravel the masterpiece of Mr. Zelensky, the so-called genius plan that's turning heads, or rather, making everyone laugh. As Mr. Colonel Douglas Macgregor wisely pointed out in a recent interview, the West's obsession with prolonging this conflict seems destined to achieve nothing but disaster for Ukraine. I wonder how many days Putin and his cabinet will spend chuckling at this display of universal intellect. So, here's what we know. Zelensky's master plan involves 5 main points with a few secret sub-points sprinkled in for flair. Apparently, these hidden details are linked to future military aid, aiming to stretch the conflict well into 2024 or even 2025. And, surprise, the plan also drags in the Transnistria region because, why not complicate things further? Now let's break it down. First, Ukraine must join NATO immediately because surely fast-tracking membership in the midst of a war is a smooth idea. Second, NATO is supposed to deploy strategic weapons on Ukrainian soil, raising tensions across Europe even further. Third, arms production in Ukraine will shift into overdrive, never mind that most factories are struggling to stay operational amid the bombings. Fourth, air defense systems are to be deployed to secure the skies. Apparently, they're still hoping those air defense gaps will miraculously close. And finally, Ukraine will somehow become the leading military power in Europe. Colonel Douglas Macgregor might have called this plan ambitious, but he would also likely say it reeks of military incoherence. There's no path, no strategy, just lofty goals and slogans. Maybe they forgot to add, by the way, we'll conquer the galaxy while at it. And the cherry on top, if it works, and that's a colossal if, Ukraine will supposedly become Europe's dominant military force by 2025. A golden age of peace and prosperity awaits, but let's face it, most Ukrainians aren't buying it. Resentment is growing fast, and their Western allies, let's just say they're not impressed. Even inside Ukraine, the response to this plan has been tepid at best. If public polls showing 46% supporters and 44% laugh emojis tell us anything, it's that this plan has earned more scorn than support. Summit, the organization's new Secretary General, promised to take Ukraine's request seriously, but not everyone was feeling the enthusiasm. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz bluntly dismissed the idea of Ukraine joining NATO anytime soon, leaving Zelensky high and dry. And the White House? They reiterated their stance: no long-range missile strikes on territory, no matter how badly Ukraine might want them. As Colonel Douglas Macgregor has pointed out, the hesitation from NATO signals a deeper realization that this isn't just Ukraine's war, it's a geopolitical minefield. Zelensky tried to sweeten the deal by promising the West access to Ukraine's trillions in strategic resources: uranium, titanium, lithium, and graphite. But as Macgregor noted, no amount of riches can hide the harsh reality. Ukraine's situation on the battlefield is deteriorating by the day. It's like holding a shiny apple just out of reach. Sure, the Western powers might want to help more, but they also know that diving in headfirst would only make things worse. And with Russia's military momentum, the risks are far too great. Meanwhile, Zelensky's allies are starting to look nervous. They see the writing on the wall. This isn't going to end well for Ukraine, no matter how many promises or resources get tossed into the mix. Back in Ukraine, disillusionment is spreading fast. Even insiders within Zelensky's administration are starting to dismiss his plan as little more than a desperate attempt to prolong the war. And the public response? Well, it speaks volumes. In a recent online poll, Zelensky managed to scrape together 46% supporters, but was met with 44% laugh reactions. And that's not exactly a vote of confidence. Colonel Douglas Macgregor saw this coming long ago. He predicted that the cracks within Ukraine would start to show as public frustration mounted. And now we're watching it unfold in real time. Even Putin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov had a chuckle, calling this plan just another version of the US strategy of fighting to the last Ukrainian, and the comedy doesn't stop there. Zelensky has given NATO a 3-month deadline to respond to his demands, but without any clear plan for what happens next. How will Ukraine defeat Russia? That's the part he conveniently left blank. Even his closest advisors seem to be treating this plan as a joke, and for good reason. With no clear strategy or achievable goals, it feels more like theater than serious policy. Now, let's dive into the real fireworks, folks. Over the past 6 months, Russia has quadrupled its bomb production. Yes, you heard that right. 4 times more firepower rolling off the assembly lines. And this isn't just Russian propaganda. Even Ukrainian military observers confirmed the uptick after analyzing unexploded ordnance on the battlefield. As Colonel Douglas Macgregor aptly pointed out, this shift in production reflects a strategic pivot, moving away from Cold War leftovers toward modern precision-guided warfare. Just last month alone, Russia deployed 647 CAB bombs, and that number continues to rise. This isn't just about keeping their stockpiles full, it's about adapting to a new style of combat. And let's not forget the FAB bombs, the so-called dumb bombs that are now getting a bit of a makeover. Russia doesn't even need to produce new bombs, they simply attach wings to the old ones, turning them into budget-friendly, semi-intelligent munitions. Talk about military efficiency. This surge in production isn't just about stockpiling bombs, it's about overwhelming Ukraine's defenses with sheer volume. Even with NATO support, keeping up with thousands of these enhanced bombs month after month is proving to be a daunting challenge. Meanwhile, Russia's decision to prioritize smart bomb production reflects its growing reliance on precision strikes, further complicating Ukraine's response. With so many bombs in play, Russia has only one bottleneck: they need more planes to drop them all. That's how deep their stockpiles run. And with every bomb dropped, Ukraine's defenses grow thinner, forcing Kiev into an increasingly reactive stance. But bombs alone aren't the only weapons in Russia's arsenal. Let's talk about drones, because Russia's UAV offensive is causing just as much chaos on the ground. In the past few days, Russia has launched over 100 UAVs into Ukrainian territory, creating havoc across key regions. These aren't random airstrikes, folks. They're targeted attacks on critical infrastructure like power plants, military warehouses, and communication hubs. Colonel Douglas Macgregor has noted that Russia's use of drones isn't just about causing disruption, it's part of a calculated strategy to cripple Ukraine's infrastructure before the harsh winter sets in. The objective is simple: wear down Ukraine's capacity to defend itself, leaving its energy grid vulnerable and sowing chaos among the population. It's as if Russia is saying, "See that power station? Boom, let's hit it." And with over 100 UAVs in the air at once, it's clear these attacks aren't just about making a point. They're about dismantling Ukraine's ability to fight back. Kiev has reported multiple explosions over the past 48 hours, but no official damage reports have surfaced. The drones are hitting fast and leaving chaos in their wake. With Ukraine's air defense system stretched thin, Russian UAVs seem to have free rein over key parts of the battlefield. The timing couldn't be worse. These drone strikes are happening right as winter approaches, placing even more strain on Ukraine's already battered infrastructure. This isn't just a tactical operation. Russia is playing the long game, aiming to exhaust Ukraine's energy resources and morale. While bombs and drones wreak havoc in the skies, the economic front isn't offering any relief. Let's take a closer look at the economic collapse unfolding in Ukraine. Just when you thought things couldn't get worse, Ukraine's economy has plummeted to 150th place out of 165 countries in the Global Economic Freedom Index. That's right, Ukraine now finds itself rubbing shoulders with nations like Yemen, Libya, and Syria. Talk about an elite club. Colonel Douglas Macgregor warned months ago that unchecked fraud and reckless spending would eventually backfire, and here we are, witnessing the collapse in real time. Under Zelensky's leadership, Ukraine has shattered records, just not the kind anyone wants to brag about. The economy is in free fall, and the social fabric is unraveling right along with it. At this rate, Ukraine might need a new plan, perhaps one that focuses on avoiding rock bottom instead of trying to become Europe's military powerhouse. Because right now, they're falling fast, and there's no safety net in sight. Even with billions in foreign aid pouring in, it seems the money isn't making its way to where it's needed. The economy is stuck in a vicious cycle, too reliant on external support and crippled by the ongoing conflict. The longer this drags on, the harder it will be for Ukraine to recover. As Macgregor pointed out, throwing money at a broken system is like pouring water into a leaking bucket. Sooner or later, the bucket will run dry, and the people paying the price will be ordinary Ukrainians, not the politicians in Kyiv. With the military situation worsening and the economy in shambles, the outlook for Ukraine looks increasingly bleak. Let's wrap things up with some final thoughts on where things stand. So there you have it, a genius plan that offers no clear path to victory, dwindling public support, and an economy in free fall. As Colonel Douglas Macgregor put it, Ukraine's time is running out, and the window for salvaging anything meaningful is closing fast. Even Scott Ritter would agree, this conflict is becoming more of a tragic comedy with each passing day. And with that, the show goes on. Stay tuned, because as long as Zelensky's plan remains in play, there's no shortage of entertainment. Subscribe for more updates. Russia advances, the West stumbles, and the saga continues. Let me make a 10-minute video on this topic.